Hello everyone, so this is Tony and today I'm going to be showing you how, or at least one of the ways it's possible to do Tauntaun's assignment 2. Actually I'll be showing two different ways. One of them is following a similar step to what Tauntaun did, and another one is a completely different approach. Both of those will end up with the exact same result. So with that said, let's get started. By the way, if that intro sounded familiar, you might have watched one of my YouTube videos, but jokes aside. The first thing you want to do is open, so you might be greeted with a screen and you can open stuff from here. Just click open here. But if you want the old school way of opening stuff, close everything out. This is your starting screen. Open here, and that's the assignment 2 we are going to be working with. Might take a while to load depending on how fast your computer is. In my case, it's taking a bit longer than normal. So the first thing you want to do is, because Tauntaun likes to work everything in metric, whereas FRC is American competition, so everything is in imperial. So you want to get in the habit of working with everything in imperial, because conversion between imperial and metric never ends up with nice numbers. So the first thing to do is to change the default units from metric into imperial. So what you want to do here is go into options, or options general, it's exactly the same. So, or you can drop down here, options, exactly the same. Go on the right hand side, which is document properties. Under units, you, instead of GS, which is the millimeter gram second, you want to change it to IPS, which is inch pound second. Everything else leaves the same. Click OK. Could take up to a few seconds to apply the change. Now everything is displayed in imperial units, and also when you type in smart dimensions without changing the units, it automatically defaults to imperial units as well. So now you want to start a new file. Make sure part is selected, not assembly, not join, but part. Click OK, and that should start you up with a new part. What you want to do the same is go in here, make sure this one's units is set to IPS. I have my settings so that it automatically sets to IPS for any new documents I'm not specifying. I forgot where to set that, so just want to make sure yours is set to IPS, because otherwise it will be more troublesome later on to work with the units. So going back to Tauntaun's one and looking at how he did it, the best way to look at is by the list of process he went through to do it. So as we can see, he did boss extrude based on this cut, based on this sketch, and this sketch looks like it's just a single hexagon. And what he did next, he made these triangles based off a hexagon, as we can see, because the circle is still here, and he cut them. So that's what he did. And the third thing he did was he made a tiny circle in the middle and he cut them. So that's the steps we're going to be following for this one. For my second way, I'm not going to be following these steps. So the first thing to do is to build a hexagon. As for exactly how big, what you want to do is go on the sketch 1. In this case, it's the first sketch Tauntaun made. Click edit sketch, and you might need to zoom in and out a little bit to get into view. Here's the sketch. As we can see, the diameter of the circle is 5 inches that the hexagon is basing off of. So that's what we're going to do here as well. Between the 3 planes, it's best to use top plane in this case, because as we can see, let me exit sketch here. As we can see, the default view you are treated to is it facing towards you. So that's that shows you it's top plane. But honestly, if you're doing a single part, it doesn't matter which plane you do it in. It's just that when you're making multiple parts together, it does sort of matter the default rotation of the part, because it makes it easier for you to put pieces together in your assembly without rotating them. But we're doing a single part, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to take top plane. You can take front or right. The step is exactly identical. So take top plane. This extra thing will pop up. Click the first one, sketch, and you're in sketch mode, and top plane is maxed out. So that's good. Next, click hexagon. Make sure it's 6 here, so it's a hexagon, not a pentagon or anything else. Just draw one out. The yellow line is a bit hard to see, but you want to make sure it says the first number you see changing is the radius. The second number is the degree. It's best you change the degree to 0 degree. I'll explain why later on, because you're trying to draw a smaller hexagon instead of a bigger one. So to make sure those two are parallel to each other, or like match up in all sides, it's best to make sure both of those lands in 0 degrees. So just change to any distance any radius of the of the circle, do not try to match the exact radius because it goes up to 8 decimal places, so it's impossible to match up to exact ones. It's best if you settle with any radius for now and use smart dimensions to change it. So for smart dimensions, we're working with diameter of the circle here, so you just click on the circle that shows diameter. This is also diameter, this is also diameter. It's just two ways of showing the same thing. So you want 5 inch here, but since my default unit is already inches, I can just type 5 and click enter, and that's 5 inches right here. And the next step we want to do is the sketch is done, so we can exit sketch, and looking at the boss extrude again, click and go to the first one, which is edit feature. Now here is the height we want. Wait a sec. So here's the height we want. So as we can see, Tauntaun did basing off the sketch plane, which is the plane we just saw, did a blind with this height. So just copy this number and come over here. Actually, I need to exit boss extrude first before it let me switch. So now come here, we're good. So click OK, everything's good. Now going to features, extrude boss, and come here. Default is always 0.1 inch. This is the number we want. Click enter, gives you a preview. So that looks like the same height as Tauntaun's. Click OK, and now boom, we got this piece done first. So next is to cut the triangles out of it. What you want to do first is go into, again, Tauntaun side. Go inside sketch 5, which is his second sketch. He probably got rid of the middle 3 sketches, which is why this one's called sketch 5. Go in edit sketch, and we can see that the inner one has a diameter of 4 inches. And we can also see that the distance between two triangles are always 1/4 of an inch. Those are the only two ones we have. The third piece of information is he drew 3, what do you call these again? 3 center lines to help with them. And when asked Tauntaun, he said he did everything one by one, but the way I'm going to be doing is mirror entities, which allows it to be easier. So essentially what for mirror entities is you select the object, in this case a triangle, you select the line, and you can flip that triangle onto the other side of the line so it appears on both sides of the line. It will make more sense when I do it. It's a fast way for making duplicates of the same object that are rotating around like a few lines or a surface or something like that. So for this one, go back to sketch, click sketch here. You want to click the plane you want to be sketching on, which in this case is the top of the object we just made. Go in again, the hexagon or pentagon shape or polygon shape, in this case it's hexagon. So now you see, because I'm doing 0 degrees, I don't need to do anything to make sure these two are automatically lined up to each other. Click on smart dimensions, go in the circle and make sure that's 4 inch. Again, I can just click 4 and enter because the default unit is inches. So that's the part done. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to click on every single one of the lines and change them to construction lines, because I'm not going to be using these lines as the actual lines. I'm just using them for reference purposes. So or if you are there's ways you can do it without the lines, but it's just safer to use the lines, or I can delete them later on. So what I want to do next is finish drawing the 3 center lines Tauntaun had, so the 3 lines that divides the hexagon into 6 shapes. Luckily the lines are just going through the edges of the hexagon, so it's very easy to draw them. So here's number 1, here's number 2, and here's number 3. The center lines are done. So what I want to do next is draw a triangle. These look like, I forgot the proper name, it's isosceles triangles, but these look like basically all 60 degrees is what I'm trying to say here. So what I want to do is draw a 60-degree triangle. I can like roughly draw 3 lines, and you know that's roughly 60 degrees, and I can adjust with the angles. But the easier way to do this is to just actually take the polygon shape and change that to 3, and now boom, I'm drawing a triangle that's guaranteed 60 degrees for each. It doesn't matter where you start because you'll have to adjust them later on. And it doesn't matter what angle it is, just make sure it roughly matches up, and okay. So now we're going to basically adjust this so that it is in the same position as Tauntaun's. So a few ways to do this. First is we need to match up, make sure it is parallel. First is the first thing we want to do. But before that, what I'm going to do, because the way things are, is to edit these two to make sure the line has the same length as the distance between these two is a 1/16 of an inch. Because if you see here, this is 1/4 of an inch in total, divided into two pieces, so 1/16 of an inch. So going smart dimensions, click on this line, click on this line. Oh, I need to deal with the angle first for a second. Okay, so my bad. So actually we're going to deal with the angle first to make sure these two are parallel. So what you want to do is do not go in smart dimensions first. Click on the line you want to be parallel to and click on line here and make sure these are parallel. So the reason because they changed the triangle to match with the hexagon is because the hexagon, everything's already set, so you cannot change the hexagon to match with the triangle. So that's why it's forced the triangle to match with the hexagon. So that's good. Now that these two are parallel, smart dimensions should allow me to input a distance here. Yep, instead of a degree. So this will be 1/16, so 0.025 inch, and that allows it to go there. And these two, ignore that one. Edit. Okay, good. Okay, so smart dimensions again. These two. So this should be 0.0256 inch. Yep, that's good. And finally, the back of these two has to match. So click on this, click on that. It's changed this to 0 inch, which means that back will go against that, which is good. And that's the thing. Another way I guess you can do it is you try to tangent these two lines. So like you can, again, not in smart dimensions, you can click this one, you can click this one, and try to make a tangent. That also works, but there are a few ways that actually, let me see if I can do it that way, just to show an actual way of doing this. So I am facing some errors right now, so let me get rid of, okay, that's good. So these two are parallel already, we know that, right? So these two are parallel already. So what I want to do next right now is to change these two to be tangent to each other. So tangent here, yeah, that also forces back. So either way it works. And now I'm just going to delete the circle in the middle because nobody needs to see that. So now onto the mirroring stage. So what you want to do is first starting with what stuff, you can select mirror entities, or it actually doesn't matter. So what you can start is selecting mirror entities, and you want to select the entities to mirror, which is the triangle, and the entities to mirror around, which in this case is this line. And you select OK, and now, wait a sec. Okay, I'm just going to do it my way. So what I do is I select the object first and I go mirror entities and I mirror about, oh, that's why. So I mirror about this line. Why is, okay, I don't want to mirror this. Mirror about this line. Okay, that's good. It shows you a preview of what it looks like. Click OK, and now boom, we have this one. So then what next I want to do is mirror by the other line. So click this, mirror entities, click mirror about, and here, and done. By the way, if you don't click the copy one, I think it just moves the thing over. So now what I can do is I can actually select all three of the objects and I go mirror entities, and I just need to mirror about this line to get it to all flip over. So boom, and oh wait. So here, and I select mirror entities and mirror about, please, and this line. Okay, that's good. And now boom. So that is Tauntaun's shape basically made already. The reason I didn't do fillets yet is because I normally do fillets in the last step, whereas Tauntaun does fillets while he's doing the triangles. I generally like to not keep the fillets on part of the triangles because it's easier for me to look up the dimensions later, but it's up to you, whatever you want to do. So as you can see, this is the exact mirror of what Tauntaun did. So now we just have to click edit sketch. So this sketch remains, and we want to click sketch 2 and come here. Instead of extrude boss, you want to go extrude cut, which is right here. You do not want to go revolved cut or revolved base, those for making circles and cylinders. We don't use that here. So extrude a cut. You can go blind, it will go through, but normally what I want to do to make sure to go make sure it does, I just go through both. So now it will show you where it's going to cut from. Make sure you click OK, and it should be cut out. So that's step 2 done, which is the majority of the heavy lifting. the third one is to make sure here on this side, what I want to do is edit sketch. Will you let me out? Okay, this side's good. Why is it not letting me out of here? Okay, let me, oh, right, because I'm in features. Sketch here, edit sketch. So the last thing I want to see is that little circle. So go in sketch 6, click edit. Of course, we can see it's from the center. So the only thing we want to check is the dimension of the circle, which TaunTaun did not measure here. So what we want to do is we just want to do it ourselves. So we know that the diameter is 0.2 inch. So that's good. So we're going to get rid of that. Make sure I'm not leaving any changes. So now we're going to do exactly the same with ours. So we're going to again sketch, select the surface you want to sketch on, which in this case again is the top, and select the circle tool. Make sure you're in circle, not parameter circle, and make sure you're in the middle. Here, just draw a random circle first. Again, I don't care about the dimension as much as of right now, because smart dimension is going to help me with it. So 0.2 inch. Now it might look a bit tight, but these corners are going to get cut later on, so it will look nicer when it comes out. So that's good. And now come back to features, extrude cut. And what I want to do is, again, you can go blind, but I'm just going to go cut through both ends, and that cuts out the circle. So the last thing we want to do, which is a standard thing we do in FRC, is to smooth out the corners. Because if you don't, something like this piece is very easy to break between this, because there's a sharp edge with the surface. It's very easy to break there. So a good way to increase the strength is to smooth out the corners. So in my case, what I need to do is I just need to go in back to the design where he did the fillets. Click here, click on any of the fillets, and it's not showing me anything again. Or you can just read here. It says parameter is this is, I believe, the radius. Yeah, the radius is 0.025, so that's the one I'm going to be using. Again, everything is in inches, so X is sketch, that's good. So the way I'm do it is I select every single surface I want to fill it on. So which in this case is not this surface or this surface, it's a line right here. It's a bit hard to see. So this one, and this is why technically it's easier to do it TaunTaun's way, short term, but the reasoning I always use for doing my way is because you can see the triangle more clearly when you go into the sketch, because the filler is not part of the sketch. The filler is part of the later on polishing process in this case. So what you want to do is I'm just going to show one, and then we'll do it 6 times later on. So you want to make sure those 3 lines are selected. Come in here. What you want to do is fill it right here. It automatically does the same for you, but instead of 0.1, we're going 0.025. And actually you can add more lines here, so this is probably what I'm going to do here as well. So here, here, here. So in case you randomly selected something you're not supposed to select, just click on that and go delete. It just goes away. So good. So let's do it. So once everything is done, you just click set, and boom, that's an exact replica of what TaunTaun did. So to save your part, just go Control S, or you can go in here, save as exactly the same. Make sure it's a SolidWorks part, and I'm just going to call this assignment A2, and then this is going to be first method, and click save, and it should be saved.